Welcome back to NPO Showcase. My guest on this second segment of NPO Showcase is Dawud Walid, Executive Director of the Michigan Office of the Council on American-Islamic Relations. Welcome, Dawud.
Thank you.
I see from the website that there are offices of the Council in many American cities. How long have you been in Michigan, the office as such?
Well, the Michigan chapter of CAIR opened in the year 2000. Based upon what took place as a consequence of 9/11 and the proliferation of Islamophobia, CAIR went from having 8 offices at the time of 9/11 to now we have 35, and actually we'll be opening up a couple of new offices, we believe, before the end of this year in different states.
So you've been in Michigan since 2000?
Yes, the CAIR office has been open since 2000, yes.
How large is the Muslim population in Michigan?
Well, there's no real firm numbers because, of course, our census data does not include religion in these United States of America, but we estimate that there's approximately 400,000 Muslims in the state of Michigan. The vast majority are concentrated in southeastern Michigan, but there are significant Muslim populations in Grand Rapids area, Lansing, Muskegon, Kalamazoo, as well as Flint and Saginaw area.
Are most of the Arab countries represented in terms of where the ancestry came from?
Within the Muslim population, and first of all, the majority of Muslims in the state of Michigan are not of Arabic origin.
I see,
but most of the Muslims from, especially in southeastern Michigan, derive from the countries of Lebanon, there as well as Syrian, Iraqi, Yemeni, and Palestinian. And there's very small numbers from other countries such as Sudan and Egypt, but primarily from those countries that I listed earlier, with the Lebanese being the largest percentage of the Arabs within the Muslim community here.
How long has your family been of American citizenry?
Oh, well, both of my parents are African American, so I'm thoroughly American, and as far as I can trace back, at least on my mother's side of the family, we've had people in my family here since the 18th century. So.
I know that I tried to do some study before interviewing you, and I recognize in your website there have been some very interesting cases and some very interesting decisions made. I was absolutely appalled at the one on the Pentagon of doing away with a target of a Muslim woman with her head covering, or quotes from the Quran. I mean, I can't believe that that can be happening.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, there are always a few bad apples in a bunch. We don't believe that everyone in the United States military and the Pentagon obviously is an Islamophobe, but there are some people who are insensitive and sometimes conflate Islam as the enemy of the United States of America, which is quite unfortunate. But you know, as an organization, we reach out to government officials and entities when we see things that are wrong. In many occasions, there's positive response and the proper changes are made.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm appalled that there's still that kind of insensitivity, but I recognize that it's a few. And what has happened with the civil suit with the Customs and Border Protection and the FBI?
Okay, well, just for the viewers, we
Yes.
filed a lawsuit a couple of months ago suing the FBI, Customs Border Protection, and TSA, which is in the airports, regarding invasive religious questioning of Michigan Muslims. So we haven't been assigned a court date yet, but basically what federal law enforcement was doing was asking Muslims questions such as, do you pray? How many times a day do you pray? Certain questions like this, which we believe have nothing to do with any predicate towards criminal behavior or activity. All Americans have the First Amendment right to their bona fide, sincerely held religious beliefs, and whether someone prays or not, or someone fasts or not, is of no business of the federal government as far as judging if someone can have any type of criminal intent.
But looking at you, I wouldn't know that you're a Muslim, and you looking at me wouldn't know that I'm a Catholic. You know, it's amazing to me that that kind of profiling is still taking place.
Well, that's correct, but what they're doing is that they're looking at people's names. So,
right.
so if people have Arabic names, for instance, or perhaps a Persian-sounding name, they're pulled. Ironically, there are the largest amount of Arab Americans in the state of Michigan actually are Christians, and we have dealt with cases where Arab Chaldean Americans that come from Palestine or from Iraq, they have faced discrimination because people think just because they're Middle Eastern that they're Muslim. So there are instances in which people from Middle Eastern background who aren't Muslims are subjected to Islamophobia.
What are some of the kinds of programs that you run out of the council?
Oh, well, we do several. One is that we are involved in sensitivity and diversity trainings. We go into schools, we've dealt with law enforcement, and we give sensitivity trainings in terms of Muslim basic beliefs and etiquettes, because we believe from a faith perspective that people are just scared of what they don't know.
Right.
So just for educational purposes, this breaks down on insensitivity and things that sometimes people have good intentions but do the wrong thing simply because they don't know. We're also involved in civic engagement trainings and activities within our own community. A significant percentage of the Muslim community in Michigan are immigrants, and many of these immigrants come from repressive regimes. So we tell them about their civil rights as well as their civic responsibilities, about getting involved in the electoral process. We have voter registration drives. We talk about the need of standing up for your rights, because if you don't stand up for your rights will be taken from you. These are some of the activities that we do within inside of our office.
And do you do this across Michigan or primarily on the southeast side?
We're predominantly, our activities are in the southeastern portion of Michigan, but we've come to the Grand Rapids area and done presentations in mosque here, in Kalamazoo. We're in Lansing quite frequently. We had a Muslim Capital Day a couple of months ago that we were co-sponsors of, where Muslims from across the state, including Grand Rapids area, came to the Capitol. We went to our state representatives and we discussed issues that were important to us as Michigan Muslims.
That's actually how I read that media release, was how I got in touch with you. What do you consider some of the successes that you've had here in Michigan?
Well, I think some of the successes that we've had here in Michigan are sometimes not big, huge accomplishments from a legal perspective, but when we're able to make contact with congregations where the average Michigander is able to hear some information and feedback that we heard, well, we didn't know that Muslims had a belief in Jesus being the Messiah, for instance, according to Islamic belief. Or we didn't know that all Muslims weren't from Middle Eastern background. We didn't know that Muslims liked bread and butter issues and things that just every other American is interested about. So basically just the process of humanizing our community and seeing that Muslims have human needs and desires just like any other human being of any other faith tradition.
Absolutely. What do you see as some of the biggest challenges?
Well, unfortunately, during this election year, there's people who are trying to polarize our country further. People are using race and ethnicity, the immigration issue, wedge issues that are divisive. And unfortunately, Islamophobia has been also brought into the political discourse. There's still 1 out of 6 Americans believe that President Barack Obama, who's a Christian, he's some sort of undercover stealth Muslim. So we still have concerns that Islamophobia in many segments of our society is an accepted form of bigotry. So, you know, the challenge that we have for this year and in the years to come is in challenging what has become the mainstreaming of Islamophobia in many sectors of our society.
How is your council funded?
We're funded 100% by private donations of our donors, primarily people within inside the Muslim community, but we do have people who are donors to our organization who aren't Muslim. We're a 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization, and that's how we're funded, by generous donors.
Mm-hmm. And how is the Michigan chapter connected to the national office?
Well, CAIR, if I can make an analogy, we're kind of like a McDonald's type organization, like the ACLU, in the sense that we have basically a franchise model. So we have a national office in Washington, D.C. They're their own separate legal entity. We have our own separate 501c3. Every state office of CAIR has its own separate legal status. So we sign an affiliation agreement, and we send a certain amount of the funds that we raise to our national office to basically use the trademark. We have a similar vision, similar mission. There is some coordination between us and our national office, but we are a separate legal entity here in the state of Michigan.
Do you feel as though, I mean, I think this election year is so polarized, it's so difficult to even read the newspaper some days, but do you feel as though progress is being made against Islamophobia? Or?
Well, there are some positive trends in the sense that within popular culture, there are people who've openly spoken out against Islamophobia, and there's at least a recognition. For instance, a year ago, when the so-called Ground Zero mosque controversy was in full swing, the Park 51 Community Center in Lower Manhattan, there was so much anti-Muslim vitriol in the socio-political discourse, but there were individuals from hip-hop mogul Russell Simmons to even Kim Kardashian, Mia Farrow, who came out publicly and spoke out against Islamophobia. MTV had some public service announcements against Islamophobia. So in the popular culture, there are people within the entertainment industry who've picked up and have spoken out against Islamophobia. So we think this is a good sign.
Very good. What would you like your final word to be to our viewers as we close down here?
My final word to the viewers is that if you have a question about Muslims and Islam, go to the source. Come and ask a Muslim. Don't go online to a random blog or random website, or go to Fox News to find out what Muslims believe. Go to the source itself, and you can contact our office at CAIRMichigan.org. You can give me a call, and we're welcome at any time to come to your community organization or come to your church and engage in a dialogue and engage in a discussion.
As I indicated earlier before we started being filmed, that Grand Rapids is currently in the year of interfaith understanding of other faiths, and it's really been a marvelous project. And as we visit mosques and temples, and we learn a great deal.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I believe that with dialogue, this helps bring us towards not just tolerance, but brings us towards a higher goal, which I believe was mutual cooperation on like issues that we face in the community based upon our faith values.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching NPO Showcase, a regular feature of GRTV. If your nonprofit wishes to be showcased, you can contact me, Barbara, 459-4788, extension 115. And in closing, I wish you a peace-filled week.